Hello everyone, and welcome to this fourth episode of Brilliancies by Mikhail. And today we are going to analyze a game played in 1958 in a tournament whereby Mikhail faced the very fierce player Harry Golombek. And Harry Golombek was known for his superb calculations and attacking skills. So surely Tal had a great fight that day. So let's dive into the position right away. So if you quickly analyze the position here, Tal's knight is brilliantly placed on c5. Tal has a excellent attacking position, and let's see how Tal converts this into a full point. So Tal plays the move pawn to 5 here, and what is this? I mean, this is just a free pawn, but what is to be learned from this move is that always, if your opponent's king is stuck in the center, try and open up the position at any cost. So even if you have to sacrifice a piece, it doesn't matter. Even if you have to sacrifice a pawn, it doesn't matter. Just make the position much more unstable. And although this pawn can be taken in two different ways, actually only one of them is correct. So at that, in those days there were no engines, so it's impossible for Golombek to actually analyze that deep. But what engines say today is actually e captures on f5 is in black's favor. And there is queen e7 check, of course, but after king g8, rook d to e1, you have threats of queen b7, but after knight d5, queen b7, queen b7, knight b7, it's still you know not equalish. I will say equalish because white has the initiative, but black surely is in a complete control, because if black plays rook a8, he's defending the a5 pawn. The knight on d5 nicely guards the e7 square, king f8, and then the knight is going to capture the f6 pawn. This rook is still out of the game, but you can also play king h7 and play rook e8 and try to bring the rook back into the game. So black has some plans, worthy plans here in this position. But when you're playing a game, live game, it's very difficult to spot the perfect move in such a complex position, and that is why Golombek chooses for G captures an F5. So we will see what happens in the game. But before that, there was another move that I considered during my first analysis, that was rook to E8. And what happens if this? Now, if you capture, well, I can even sacrifice the exchange, but no need to do that. White can capture the g6 pawn here. F captures on g6. You have F captures on g6, and now comes pawn to f7. And this is really a brilliant stuff. Just how a tactical position can suddenly change into a immense positional advantage. Now rook to e7 is forced. Now you go with queen e5. You harass the other rook. And there is nothing. I mean, rook at 7. You can play rook at 7, for which queen g5 will pick up the g6 pawn. And if you play rook to h5, simply queen to f6, and still the g6 pawn is gone. And once the g6 pawn is gone, the position is going to collapse right away. So there's no point playing this. So of course, Harry realizes this thing, and he doesn't play rook e8. He plays g captures on f5, and he says, well, okay, I've captured a pawn, and what is your plan now? So Tal plays the move queen to e3. So Tal says, well, now your file is open, the g file is open. Now I have to find a way to reach the g7 square. And well, Tal plays queen e3 with the plan of queen g5 and queen g7 check. And it's not that easy to stop this plan. For example, if Golombek goes for rook g8, now comes queen to h6 with the check. And after king e8, now Tal has a brilliant tactical shot. So again, I will allow you guys to pause the video for a second. And for those who have found it, it's the most amazing tactical shot in this position. That is knight captures on e6. And why is this so much powerful? Where I'm not only attacking the rook on d8, but also if queen captures, simply rook e1. Your queen is pinned, and after this, I don't think that there is anything kept in the position. King d7. You have this rook e7 check, picking up the f7 pawn. Then the f6 pawn will be a passer, and it's not worth playing that position. But if you don't capture with the queen, if you capture with the pawn, that is f captures on e6, now you have queen to h7. And well, this is again completely winning for white, because now the g8 rook is under attack, and not only is the rook under attack, there is queen e7 checkmate threat also, and there is also pawn to f7. So too many threats for black to handle. So again, this is not something black would really like to go in. So what does Golombek had in his mind? So Golombek was, again, as I mentioned, just a minute, I think my mic is okay. Yeah, no issues. So yeah, as I mentioned, Golombek was a fierce player, so he would not go into a kind of defensive position right away. So Harry Golombek plays the move pawn to b6 here. He says, well, okay, you can play queen g5, but I have a simple plan for that. So Tal goes for queen g5, and now Harry plays rook to h7, and he says, well, now you don't have queen h6, you don't have queen g7, all your checks are gone, and you can play knight e6, but now it doesn't work because simply queen e6. Now the king is no longer on e8, and after rook d to e1 or rook f to e1, the queen will just retreat back, and Harry will enjoy the extra piece. So again, this is a very important point in the game where Harry slightly missed a single variation from Mikhail Tal, and Mikhail Tal actually plays the absolute best move here. So he plays the top engine move, and again, you guys can pause the video and think over it for a minute because it's not so easy to find this engine move. It's not a straightforward plan, but it's a two move, three move plan. So it's a deeper plan to analyze. And for those who just want to enjoy it, Tal plays the move rook 4. He sacrifices the full knight here. And what does Tal have in his mind? Of course, it happened in the game, so it's not a variation that we will analyze. Golombek goes for it. He captures the knight. You have B captures on C5, and now Tal plays rook captures on H4. And this is a nice, brilliant deviation tactic. So Tal is not offering a trade of rooks because it may seem that Tal is offering a trade of rooks, but isn't. Tal is actually threatening for a much better way of checkmating the black king. And you don't have, as black, you don't have any other choice but to take the rook because you don't have any other move. You cannot defend the h7 rook anyhow. So rook captures on h4 by Golombek. And now Tal plays queen to g7 with a check. You have king to e8. Now queen to g8 with a check. The e7 square is nicely covered with the pawn. King to d7, and now comes queen captures on f7 with a check. Again, you see the king is trapped in his own pieces. So king to d6, and now comes Tal's brilliant stuff. Queen to e7 with a check. Yeah, okay. It was just alarm. Yeah. So now comes queen to e7 with a check. And this is a brilliant stuff from Mikhail Tal. The king is in the center of the board, trapped, and the king has nowhere to go. And it was in this position that Harry Golombek resigned. But why did he resign? I mean, there's a very interesting thing to see. If he would have not resigned, then there was a forced checkmating the next two moves. So again, king to d5, black's only move. Now comes queen c5 with the check, king to e4, and now comes queen e5 with a checkmate. And believe me or not, the black king is on the e4 square, the center of the board, and that's the best that white can ever get. The king is nicely covered, all the squares are covered, the f3 square is covered with the g2 pawn, and every single piece of white is doing its job. The f6 pawn did the job of covering the e7 square, the queen is delivering a fatal checkmate, the d4 pawn is supporting the queen, the rook is guarding the d file, and the black king has nowhere to go. So this would have happened if Golombek wouldn't have resigned. But of course, after queen e7 check, Golombek being a very decent player, he realized that there's a checkmate coming soon, and he didn't want himself to get too down on morale. So that was another fierce game from Mikhail Tal. I mean, if you see this move, playing the move like rook f4, rook f4 is exactly the point where a lot of players go wrong. They feel that okay, you have to keep attacking, you have to play the absolute best, you have to go like rook f5 and try to open up the position moreover. But sometimes just sacrificing pieces like that is not a solution to problems. Sometimes you have to play with some decent what you can say positional plans, and rook f4 is a perfect example where Tal is the what you can say beast of tactics, not only positional tactics but also tactical continuations. So rook f5, rook f4, sorry, was one of my favorite moves of Tal. And finding this, because when I saw this position, I didn't think of f4 either. I thought that okay, sometimes I think maybe he can retreat. Even if he retreats, it's not a problem. I mean, knight d3 is also good for white. It's not bad, but you know, uh, as someone has said, once you start attacking, you should not go back too much. So, of course, going back too much is wrong, but going back a little is right. So, rook f4, not a silent move, but a very active move either. And after b captures on c5, rook captures on h4, forcing the rook trade, and not only the rook trade, forcing this rook to leave the defense of the g7 square. Rook captures on h4, and then queen g7 check, king e8, queen g8, king d7, queen to f7. Again, the king is trapped, and king after king d6, there is queen e7 check, followed with queen c5 and queen e5 checkmate. So yeah, that was another great game. I hope you all enjoyed it, and do subscribe to our channel if you have not. And this series is going to have a lot of interesting games coming up. So stay tuned with us.